FromSoft games are hard, but still, people have managed to defeat their games without leveling, blindfolded with some ridiculous items, and there's even a thing called the God Run, where you beat all the games back to back without taking a single hit. But you see, the problem with these people is that they're absolute God gamers, and unfortunately I'm not. So I embarked upon a quest on finding the perfect challenge run for someone like me who defeated the game just once. I wanted to find something challenging but not unforgiving to the point where I have to quit my job, and I think I found the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present Dark Souls 3 All Bosses Broken Sword Only. When I started this challenge, it was to experience the Dark Souls 3 bosses better in a more calculated approach rather than the stand and trade style that I used in my first playthrough. And right out the gate, this game serves me a hefty challenge. Small sidetrack before we continue. I dreaded the idea of saying broken sword a million times recording this, so I'm going to refer to it as a BS from now on. Okay, back to our problem. The BS, which is a crucial item for this challenge, is located behind the locked doors in Gundir's room. Now technically, since the BS is locked away from us, we can approach this problem in two ways. We could consider the challenge started only after we pick up the BS, which will allow us to kill Gundir with our starting weapon. Or we can come to a very crucial and important understanding very early on. If I wanted to be successful in this challenge, I would have to do the one thing gamers dread most: get good. So I decided not to act like a coward and show Gundir that I'm not afraid of a challenge and put up a performance that might break TOS. Fellas, I present to you Udex Gundir Fisting Only. Although Gundir is a tough challenge, once you know how to strafe him and learn to time his slam, even with the fists only, he doesn't pose much of a challenge. And with him dead, we finally have access to our only damage source in the game, the BS. Equipped with the BS, we make our way to Firelink Shrine to level up health, which will be our main stat, as the idea with the BS run is to survive long enough to deliver small amounts of damage over a long period of time. With our new weapon and levels, it was time for us to head to the High Wall of Lothric. We make sure to pick up important items such as the Silver Serpent Ring from Firelink and Gold Pine Resin, a raw gem and some Titanite from the High Wall to give our BS a much needed upgrade and make our way to Fort of the Boreal badly. Vord, in my opinion, gets a bad rep. I think he's a better fight than I heard most people describe him, but unfortunately for him, sticking to his butt makes him miss 90% of his moves. All we need to do is utilize the Gold Pine Resin we picked up earlier and stay safe when he's transferring to his second phase. There's not much adversity to deal with here, so Vord goes down on the first try. We make sure to meet Yol in the Undead Settlement and pick up some important items and then make our way to the scary testicle monster. This fight was really annoying due to the short range of the broken sword. It seemed like many times I would consider myself close enough to hit the Great Wood's eggs, but in the game's perspective I was way out. And because of that, towards the end the fight got really close, but luckily for us, one attempt is all that was necessary to put the Great Wood down. I felt confident going into the swamp because I learned a few worthy tricks to help me deal with the problems there. Those tricks are a dagger and gravity. Although it wasn't enough to get out of all the troubles, eventually we make sure to light up the fires and open the doors to the Abyss Watchers. But before we face the anime dweebs, we have to get rid of the Crystal Sage. We make sure our health is topped off, just look at that beautiful health bar and head over to the Sage. Now, as annoying as this Harry Potter and Naruto combo from Walmart may be, with our chunky health bar and surprisingly strong damage, the Crystal Sage cannot kill us or keep up with our DPS. But I did get a little bit lucky because I managed to get to the real Sage on the second phase very quickly, like 4 times in a row. And eventually, after chasing him around a little bit, the Crystal Sage dies on the first try. At this point, I felt like I was running through everything, but just as my confidence started to rise, then I met the anime dweebs. The Abyss Watchers were the first boss to give me any real trouble in this challenge. The short range of the BS really came into effect here. Like when you're going to help your friendly Abyss Watchers, it will put you in the range of his attack, but the biggest problem would have to be that the Abyss Watchers don't really allow for slow gameplay, which will be the optimal way to play in a broken sword run. I'm not joking when I'm saying this boss had me clenching for my Estus like a dehydrated kid searching for his sippy cup. And due to being as problematic and challenging as they were, the anime nerds made me understand that this will only get harder the further we go into this challenge. But after multiple attempts, the Abyss Watchers go down, and with that, our path to the Catacombs of Carthus was open. After some ball shenanigans and an all-night drinking competition at the bar, we meet the spooky, scary skeleton himself, Walnir. And let me tell you what a sham this man is for such a monstrous description in the lore to be smacked down by a tiny BS so easily. Even his heavy vaping smoke wasn't enough to move our massive health bar. Just a couple of smacks on his wrist and Walnir gets sucked down to the abyss on the first try. After even more running around looking for some valuable items, by the way, I landed this first try and I just wanted to flex it, we were on our way to the smoldering lake to challenge Old and Bold Demon King. But before, I took a small detour to kill Crocodoggo to pick up Pontiff's right eye for some extra damage as long as our attacks are consecutive. And with our build, that stacks up. In the smoldering lake, I make sure to pick up some upgrades and utilize the environment to my advantage to get rid of the worm and head into the fight with the Demon King. Now I know that his name states that he's old, but damn, does this guy move slow? I feel like he's more fitting for like a Dark Souls 1 type of game. Even with the BS, this guy didn't pose any challenge. And unfortunate as it is, Old Demon King at the end of the fight starts hyperventilating and requesting a seat to catch his breath. But I decide to do the right thing and put him out of his misery. Old Demon King first try, but at the cost of a massive need to shower. Our next boss on the list is a bit surprising. We're doing Dancer early because I wanted the challenge, and as well it will give us access to Lothric Castle in case we need upgrade materials. And boy was it challenging. You know, as tanky as I was, Dancer destroyed me. Her attacks come out so quick and I feel like there's always another hidden attack in her combo. Also, fuck that bullshit grab attack, I hate that thing. Dancer took a lot longer than anticipated, and on my last run, I got her so low and ran out of potions, so I had to do what any great man does, I had to clutch the fuck up, and clutch up I did. With the Dancer dead, it was time we head over to the Deacons of the Deep. The Deacons. A comparison to this would be a pack of chihuahuas trying to fight a pit bull juiced up on steroids. Their damage isn't significant, they're very easy to kill even with the BS, and as long as you manage to deal with their annoying curse buildup, you'll be fine. I'd honestly say easiest boss so far, Deacons die on the first try. Whilst in the cathedral, we make sure to say hello to Patches and then backstab him as quick as possible so I can pick up Sigurd's armor to activate his questline. And now it's finally time to meet the second most difficult boss in this entire challenge. You know, coming into this fight, I knew that it's going to be one of the biggest hurdles in the challenge. Everything in his kit is all the things I'm worst at in Dark Souls, directional dodging and parrying. And this boss made me rage so many times. I felt like I was unable to get his timing window down, when I can get hits in, when my healing windows are. It just felt like a mess every time I fought him. And the worst thing is, even when I killed him, I wasn't satisfied because I knew that I could do better. But at least, I took it as a learning experience. And with enough attempts, Pontiff the Tyrant goes down. Hello there, this is Future Nathan. Unfortunately for me, I'm stupid, so I lost the footage of my first attempt with Osiris and Yorm. So, I'm going to sum it up for you very quickly. We walked into Osiris's cave and saw him crying about a baby like a baby. A few precise rolls and some attacks later, Osiris goes down on the first try. Very easy boss, nothing to be worried about. Now on to Yorm. Long story short, I did Sigurd's questline and he came to help me, so I decided to let him fight his old friend because I didn't want to abuse the fact that he had a Storm Ruler. Unfortunately for me, Yorm stun-locked Sigurd and destroyed him before he got a single hit in. So I knew what I had to do. I had to avenge Sigurd and bring down a giant. You see, although Yorm can be made trivial with the use of the Storm Ruler, there is another cool trick you can use to make sure you can kill Yorm without spending 40 hours whacking at his legs. If you hit Yorm specifically in his weapon-wielding arm, he will gain faster damage, eventually dropping him to the floor. Now, when he's on the ground, you can whack at his head for massive damage and then riposte him for even more. This adds a level of difficulty and intricacy to the fight that makes it much more fun than when using the Storm Ruler. I honestly recommend all of you to try to kill Yorm without the Storm Ruler. It's so much fun and the spectacles are amazing. It's really one of the highlights of this challenge, I would say. With our second Lord dead and our path to Orlando open, it was time for us to head into the boss that I dreaded facing the most in this challenge, Aldrich. To put it lightly, he is a piece of human feces. This slimy creature is such an annoyance. Everyone hates his stupid arrow attack, or getting hit by his life fund scythe is such a scary thing because it means that several minutes of your progress are just gone. But you know what? I got really good RNG in this fight. I did my best to stick to his tail and not get greedy for the last hit so I don't get hit by his AoE when he's going into the ground. And I made sure that I ran at him when he got away, and then when he used the arrows, I just stuck onto his butt and they wouldn't reach me for some reason. So I don't think anyone will be as surprised as I am to say that Aldrich was surprisingly easy and went down on the first try. With Aldrich dead, it was time for our final Lord, Lothric. But before that, it was time for my second favorite optional boss in the game, Champion Gundyr. Unlike when we met the first version of Gundyr, now we're equipped with a sword and he's equipped with the Dark Souls 3 boss movement speed. Champion Gundyr is so awesome. He has one of the cooler movesets in the game in my opinion, but god damn do I hate this leg attack. I always get hit by it. He's very quick, he does a lot of damage, and it feels like there's a lot of intricacy and a little bit of timing windows you can take advantage of, which adds a lot of depth to the fight. But challenging as he may be, after 3 attempts to get into the zone, Champion Gundyr goes down with a BS. So, we change our helmet into the Onion to strike fear into the enemies and head into Lothric Castle. While we're there, we make sure to pick up all the remaining requirements for our BS to get maxed out, and this is pretty much as strong as we're gonna be for the remainder of the run. The guard of the castle is the Dragon Slayer armor, one of my favorite bosses in the game. This boss was much harder than I first anticipated. It required a lot of patience to understand where I can get my hits in, what's my healing windows, and for some extra difficulty, managing not to fall off the edges and dodge the butterflies makes it a much harder task. Overall though, the fight was really enjoyable. I love the fact that it dragged on a little bit, it made me experience it more and I actually liked it a lot. A-tier boss for sure, and Dragon Slayer armor goes down. Before I went to mess with the sus bros, I decided to rest along a seemingly normal statue, and within 3 minutes I found myself plunging on a dragon's head, feeling like my BS is finally living up to its full potential. Then I got teleported to a weird place, I rung a bell, and then all of a sudden, a massive fire-breathing chicken started flying towards me. It was carrying some Thor knockoff, and then I'm just dead. Like 10 times. In a row. But in all seriousness, the Nameless King was one of the tougher fights in this challenge. Just the fact that he has 2 phases where he hits you means that you have to heal or you'll die makes it extremely difficult. Now add on to the fact that I had to use a BS with some BS range to hit the chicken, and that adds a lot of flavor to the challenge. It took me many close calls to finally get the fight I was waiting for, but with enough perseverance and determination, the Nameless Chicken goes down. To get the Lothric, we first need to go through the horrible Duke's archives. When we're there, we make sure to look like the locals and run away from the books like a teenage kid with a TikTok addiction. And with enough running around, we finally make it to the Dogged Lord himself. Lorien? Oh my god, is this fight challenging with a BS. See, the first phase is actually not that hard. With the correct timing, you can get hits in through his combos and punish him heavily after he teleports. But then the second phase starts, and that's where the real fun begins. Lorien comes out more aggressive, and with Lothric spamming spells from his back because he's carrying, let me tell you, looping around and trying to hit him on the ass is not an easy task to do with a broken sword. It took some precise movements and timing to manage to consistently hit Lothric. But you know what they say, practice does make perfect, and after what seemed like 30 attempts, the final Lord of Cinder goes down. With all the Lords of Cinder dead and all possible bosses in the game dead as well, it was time for us to speak to Melina and let her burn the Erdtree down for us. She teleports us to what seems like an alternate version of Firelink, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, and through there we make it to the bonfire to the kiln of the first flame. It's the final boss time! The Soul of Cinder, I'd have to say, has one of the best designs in the game. The added difficulty from using a BS was definitely a lot of fun to the experience. Also the fact that he's supposed to be the culmination of all the other players playing from Dark Souls 1 and 2 makes it a lot more fun when you think about it. The second phase of the fight is actually where it becomes easier because it makes the Soul of Cinder a lot more predictable. So after a little bit of back and forth between me and the Soul of Cinder, it finally goes down and Dark Souls 3 was defeated with a BS only. All that's left is to speak to our maiden and then gently caress her face as the end credits roll. That's it, boys. We're done.
Psych!
Now it's time for the real challenge because the hardest bosses are hiding in the DLCs. We waste no time and go speak to our Uncle Gale. After making it to Ariandel, we make our way to the church, making sure to avoid all the enemies along the way and eventually make it and rest right next to Sister Fried. Alright, it's time for the Grave Tender and Big Wolf. And to get to them, we first have to cut off the bridge. Thank you, Dark Souls. And after a little bit of FromSoft platforming fun, we finally make it to the bonfire, acknowledging that this place sucks too. Grave Tender was up next. It costed me a death to understand that I can't just rush him down when I'm using a BS, but after methodically getting rid of the dogs one by one and then making sure to rush the Grave Tender down as soon as the wolf spawns, this fight went a lot better. With the Grave Tender dead, it becomes quite simple. The wolf's attack are highly telegraphed and all it takes is just a little bit of timing to get rid of him and put this boss behind us too. On our path to Fried's secret Kool-Aid dungeon, we make sure to pick up a very important armor set that will be crucial for this playthrough. We pull a lever and after going to visit her frail father, we manage to piss Fried off so much to the point where she wants to snuff us out. And boy does she snuff us out! Fried turned out to be the toughest fight in this challenge. The first phase is not hard to deal with once you understand how her teleportation move works, but then in the second phase, finding time and range to get hits on Father Ariandel whilst avoiding Fried and making sure she doesn't heal him for like 30% of Daddy's HP, which is like 3 minutes worth, is very hard. It took me like 30 tries to get to a point where I can consistently get past the second phase. The third phase is not as difficult as the second one. She's much more aggressive with different attacks, but once you get her pattern down, you understand that there are massive windows for you to punish her. Eventually, after many attempts, I managed to pull off a miracle and kill Fried with 1 potion to spare. After teleporting into Dreg Heap, we started following Uncle Gale's notes on the ground and take the leaps of faith that lead us into the Demon Prince cave. It was important that I kill the Demon in Pain first, because then the Demon Prince's moveset will favor our build much more, as you will see soon. After getting rid of the first demon, the second one is short to follow, and then it was time for the actual boss fight. Although I dealt really low damage, the occasional stagger and the fact that we can hit him with long strings makes this fight very doable. Now this is when killing the Demon in Pain first comes in handy. When he goes for the laser attack, we just rush him down to deal massive damage since we can reach him before his cast starts. In this fight, I had to clutch up again because I reached to a point where he was under 50% health, but I had no more flasks to use. So once again, I stood up to the occasion, clenched my butt cheeks strongly together and pulled it off, making the Demon Prince go down on the first try. At this point, I started to feel the end getting near. When I got to the Ring City, since I knew the dirty tricks that this place holds, it wasn't as big of a challenge. It wasn't perfect though, but we make our way pretty quickly through the city and get to Medir. After some pretty tedious back and forth hiding behind a rock, Medir falls into the cavern and it was time for me to get him for real. I make sure to pick up the Chloranthy Ring +3 before dropping into the cave and starting to hammer away at the dragon. Medir was difficult as expected, but I always found the moveset quite simple to understand. The only problem is that mistakes are bound to happen, and due to our low damage and Medir's massive health bar, it means that when we do make a mistake, we cannot outlast Medir in battle. Now since we had no other way than leveling to increase our damage, this was a simple case of repeating the boss fight over and over again until we get the kill. Now during the winning attempt, I was coincidentally filming with my camera on, so I'm going to let live Nathan take the wheel from here. Holy shit, she staggered! Wait, is this it? Am I actually gonna get it because my camera's on? Oh my god, that's fucking it, boys. I can't believe it. Medir's gonna die now. Medir's actually gonna die. Oh my god, it only took one attempt with the camera on. Go! Wail on her! No, don't die to the AoE! Don't die to the AoE! Oh, she's dead. I got it! I got Medir! First fucking try! All I needed to do is turn my camera on. Fuck it, bro. Who cares? Who cares? Yo, you got to see my sexy face and the laundry in the background. Enjoy, boys. With Medir dead, this challenge was coming close to an end. Only 2 bosses were left on the list, and Half-Light is the next one to beat. Oh boy, was Half-Light annoying. This fight was incredibly discouraging on my first try. Fighting Judicator Argo and then having to manage both the summon and Half-Light himself is very annoying. I did my best to utilize the pillars to my advantage, but at the end I wasn't able to stop the summon from healing, and since it spawns twice in a fight, even if I did kill it, it wouldn't make any difference. I couldn't outlast them. So, I had to come up with a different plan. I remembered that you don't actually have to fight Judicator Argo, making the fight easier already. After a little bit of practice, I made sure to utilize the pillars to the best of my advantage and prevent the summon from healing, and then making sure I kill him before he casts another heal off. When it came to fighting Half-Light, there were only 2 attacks that I were truly interested in. This slicing combo that I can punish with 2 hits at the end, and the arrow strike that gives me a backstab if I time it right. At 50% health, the second summon will spawn, and then it's hiding behind the pillars all over again, making sure to kill it before it can heal, and then all that's left is a little bit of more running around from Half-Light and a few well-placed backstabs and slices. Half-Light goes down, and only Uncle Gale remains. Princess Philionor hits us with the Men in Black flash to make us forget what an awful boss Half-Light was, but all it does is teleport us to the end of the world on some Doctor Who shit. But you know what? This type of place requires a special attire. That's way better. This was finally it, the last battle in this challenge, and let me tell you, it was absolutely awesome. Everything about this fight is cool. There's not a single boring moment, and this is the only boss where I can get hit and I wholeheartedly know that it was my fault. God damn, is this boss amazing. And fighting against Gale with his own armor set and weapon is just the perfect way to cap off this challenge. I'm gonna stop talking now and leave you guys to enjoy this one. With Uncle Gale dead, this challenge was officially over, and all that was left is to give the Dark Soul to the lady of the painting. If you're still here, please do consider subscribing, as it will help out the channel a lot. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs before the end of the year. But that's all for me for now. Thank you so much for watching. Stay natty. Peace out.